What's up, everybody? It's Concrete Zebra with Studio One Tutorials and Craftmaster Productions, and today we're going to be looking at how to make trap plucks inside Studio One. What's up, everybody? Concrete Zebra with Studio One Tutorials and Craftmaster Productions, and today we're going to be doing a little basic sound design. We're going to be looking at how to make the easiest sound, I think, inside of a synthesizer. It's a pluck. It's also very useful, especially in trap and different types of hip hop subgenres. The main thing that we're looking at when we make these sounds is having a simple understanding of ADSR, and you'll see these either the words or the abbreviations on just about any synth plugin that you have. And the way that we go ahead and determine when and how much we use them is by having an understanding of what they do. So to start off, what these are actually measuring, these are measuring amplitude over time. Okay, so the attack comes in from when you first press the key, and that's going to be how fast the patch that you're playing, how fast from the time you press the key that it reaches its max volume. That's the attack time. So if you have a fast attack time, as soon as you press the key, you know the sound is gonna go right up to its max volume. If you set a slow attack time, it's going to take longer for that max volume to kick in after you press the key. So that's going to be stuff like pads and swelling strings and things of that nature. Now, you know, when you press a key on a patch or a preset that you pick, it's all about the time it takes to go from the max to all the way to the time you hear silence. So the next parameter that comes into the equation is the decay. Now, the attack takes you up to the max. The decay takes you down to the average volume of the sound, which brings me to the next point. That's the sustain. The sustain is how long after you press the key once is the average volume going to continue. And that leads us to the time where you see this is illustrated right here. The release is where you let go of the key. How long is that sound going to tail off or fade out after you release the key? So as long as you can kind of wrap your head around that, and it's not that difficult, you know, you just remember it's amplitude over time. So the attack, how long do you get to go to the fullest volume? The decay, how long does it take to come down to the average volume? The sustain, how long are we staying at the average volume? And then the release, how long does it take to fade that sound out? Once you have an understanding of that, you can really do a lot with basic synthesis. And you know, this is kind of where you want to start. So just to show you, you know, how easy it can be, I have like a simple trap melody, you know, that I wrote real fast, and I went ahead and used the stock synthesizer that comes with Studio One. Now this is what you call a mono synth, and the reason why it's mono is because it only has one voice and one oscillator. The oscillator is the basis of your sound, and then what you do with it in the type of synthesis that we're going to be using today, subtractive synthesis, is you start off with, you know, this basic sound. So you start off with that sound, and then you subtract things from it. You can either, you know, change the cutoff or, you know, put different modulations, but that's the sound you're going to start with. And then you shape it to your liking. So in order to make a pluck, you know, you're looking for something that's going to be like a bell sound. And so you think about the sound and you're like, okay, does that song or does that pluck, is the sound going to resonate for a long time? And so you know that's not going to happen. So you could turn your release all the way down because you're not going to need a long release. Then you think to yourself, is it going to stay at an average volume for a long time? And then the answer is no. It just kind of plucks in and out. It's just a ding 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 ding. So you can turn your sustain all the way down. You think about the attack, you say, all right, do I want it to take a long time to get to its highest volume, or do I want that to happen fast? Well, depending on the situation, but you're going to want to start with a fast attack. So, you're going to turn that all the way down. Then with the decay, this is really where you're going to shape the sound. And that's why I like to start with plucks first when you're learning how to design sounds, because if you just move this slider to taste, you can decide what type of flavor you're going to go with. So this is the basic settings when we start out with the synth, and this is what the melody sounds like. Okay, so you see that's a little too fast. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to slow down the decay and just listen to how the amp filter opens up and find, a duration that I like. Okay, so I like that right around there. Now I can now that I've got my ADSR set up and I know that that's how long I want that note to play for, I'm gonna go ahead and mess with the other parameters. First, I'm gonna start with the oscillator and just kind of move this around. Okay, so that's all right. Now I'll go ahead and mess around with the cutoff. This is a low pass filter that they have for you. All right, that's a pretty trippy sound right there. Then I noticed down here they have a LFO, and what a LFO is, you could think about it as like a hand that stays on whatever knob you assign it to, and it's going to move the knob back and forth at the duration that you set it for. So I noticed that this is set to 1 bar, and this amount here, depending on if I turn it right to left, it'll either like, say I turn it all the way here, over the course of a bar it's going to go back and forth this way. So I want to hear what that sounds like. And I like that because it's going back and forth between these two waveforms. Then I could go ahead and put a delay on it. And that's just a regular 8th note ping pong delay. It's the basic setting that's in a lot of patches in Nexus. So if you use an 8th note ping pong, that'll make your sounds give it that Nexus vibe. And then I use the Presonus mix verb just because I wanted like a trashy, obnoxious sounding reverb. And just as simple as that, within a few minutes, boom, I made my own melody sound that is simple and unique to me, that I could go ahead and save that and improve on, or using a song right now. I like to another popular synth is Silent, and just to go ahead and show you guys how this information translates to different plugins. You don't necessarily have to use the stock plugin. This starts out like this. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to lower my sustain, keep my attack high. Now this synth is a polysynth. That means that you can have, a lot of different voices or, different notes playing at one time. So let's go ahead and, change the voices to 8. You see you've got more voices now. And then once you have more voices, what you can do is you can go ahead and start playing with the phase and the tuning of those voices next to each other to make a fat sound. So, something that's really popular is to detune it. Okay. And, say for example, I didn't necessarily like that wave. I could just, flip through the different waves that this program has, which has a few more. So say I like that one. The other thing that you could do with a synth like this, where you have the choice of 2 oscillators, is now you could stack this. So, all you have to do is engage these voices. Go ahead and turn on 8 of them. And just so that they're not playing the same thing, I'll make it an octave lower. And then maybe I'll change the waveform to give it a different texture. As simple as that. And remember, the key thing that we're doing here is we're keeping, the ADSR with fast attacks, sustains, and releases, and then just adjusting the decay. Now, if you wanted to, there's no rule that says that from here, if you like this, you can't adjust the other parameters. So, if you wanted to make it sound more like a whistle, you can do this. Or say you wanted the sound to tail off a little bit more to give it more of an ambient feel. But you just remember, this is your starting point. The next synth that I'm going to show you is Massive. And the reason why I'm going to show you this one is because we go from 1 oscillator to 2. Now in this one you could see 3. And just the benefit of having more things to choose from. Every synth is going to have a different layout. But if you remember, okay, the first thing I want to find is my oscillators, because that's the sound I'm going to be sculpting. And then you find your envelopes. In Massive, the number 4 envelope you see is attached to the total amplitude of the sound. So that's the one you're going to work in when you're here. So you start off with your sound playing. Okay, so now that I have that, is the cool thing about Massive is that it has all these different waves. So I have all these different waves to choose from to have a basic sound, and then to combine with each other. And if you see each wave kind of it's like in the Mojito synth, you can go from left to right in the position of it. So what I'll do is I'll just scan through them until I find something. This will sound familiar to you guys. This is like a bell. So that's a good start, if you were making like a like a regular basic trap sound. You could get this sync delay. I like to use this. Just make sure that they have 2 different times to get a really nice sound. And then the reverb in massive is really trashy too for these type of sounds. I like really really cheap sounding reverbs. And then from there, you see amp, that's short for amplitude or volume. So if you want to bring another wavetable into this, all you got to do is turn this up. And then just kind of flick through here and see what you like. You see how that nice texture between like the bell sounding and then this saw kind of adds a complexity to it, and it's not as basic, so you get something a little bit more rich. That's the kind of sound you want to kind of experiment and go for. And then you could go ahead and mess around and add add another oscillator and see what you like. And then without getting too in depth with your different synth plugins that you have, you can just with your ADSR and your waves, and then the regular reverb and delay effects, you can make your own sounds and do something that's unique and start forging your own sound and deciding really have a voice with your music, which is what you want to go for, because it's very rare, if ever, that you find a producer who breaks through sounding like the guy who was making last year's hits. So you kind of want to be ahead of the wave, and starting here will help you do that. So hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope you guys learned something. This is Concrete Zebra with Studio One Tutorials, Craftmaster Productions, and we'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks a lot.